couple of weeks ago, you can see this picture behind you. You got the opportunity to meet our new Holy Father.
I sure did. That was super amazing. Yes. So I was in Rome for a conference, and I asked my Archbishop if he could maybe help me get this encontro with the Holy Father, and he wrote a letter, and then I was invited to sit with they call it the Bacciamani, the ones who sit right up there during the Wednesday general audience, up close to the Holy Father, and then at the end of the audience you can come up and meet him. So I got to do that just this past June, and that was incredible.
Hey everybody, for the first time today, we get to sit down with a lay member of our alumni community, Dr. Susan Mulheron. She has been with the Archdiocese of Minneapolis, St. Paul since 2011 and currently serves as the Chancellor of Canonical Affairs. She first dove into studying the Church at the University of St. Thomas, earning her bachelor's degree in philosophy and master's in theology. She continued her studies at the Catholic University of America, obtaining her licentiate in canon law. And then in 2023, she obtained her doctorate in canon law from Santa Croce. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you.
Really great to be with you.
Thanks for coming here to St. Paul.
Yeah, no, I've arrived yesterday around noontime, and just driving around, I was kind of shocked by the cathedral.
It's amazing.
It's a beautiful, beautiful space, and had the opportunity to just go and pay a visit there yesterday, and it was a really, really incredible.
Absolutely treasure.
Church. Yeah. So are you born here? Were you born here in?
I was not. I am a transplant.
Okay.
Yes. So I actually grew up in Idaho.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I did, yeah. And I went, and then I wanted to go really far away for college. And so I actually went to Syracuse University.
Oh, wow.
In Syracuse, New York.
Nice.
Yep. And it was actually out there that I became a Catholic.
Okay.
And after that, you know, what I was looking for sort of in the world changed a lot. And I had heard about at St. Thomas here in St. Paul, they have a Catholic studies program. And through that you can study abroad in Rome.
Oh, wow.
And as a new Catholic, that was just the most incredible thing. It still is the most incredible thing. And so I transferred into the University of St. Thomas to do that Rome study abroad program, and then got married and stayed. And now I'm here forever.
Awesome. Wow. So when did you come into the church?
My freshman year of college. Yeah. So I went to, I kind of was going through this kind of deep spiritual seeking period as I was coming out of high school, and I was already a Christian. But as I learned more just about my own faith and God and history, and I just wanted to go deeper. And so I decided when I went off to college, I would give the Catholic Church a chance and take a good look at it. And so I got to Syracuse University. I went to the Catholic Center there, and I met some wonderful conventual Franciscans who were doing the campus ministry. They still do that there. And I enrolled in RCIA. And Father Adam was so patient with this 18-year-old know-it-all, you know, who was really looking for answers. And anyway, so I became Catholic there my freshman year.
Wow.
And it was a great experience. So.
Wow. Well, praise God for that. We're glad to have you.
Oh, thanks. It works. It's a good fit. It's a good fit.
Oh, that's great. So a couple of weeks ago, you can see this picture behind you. You got the opportunity to meet our new Holy Father.
I sure did. That was super amazing. Yes. So I was in Rome for a conference, and I asked my Archbishop if he could maybe help me get this encontro with the Holy Father, and he wrote a letter, and then I was invited to sit with they call it the Bacciamani, the ones who sit right up there during the Wednesday general audience, up close to the Holy Father, and then at the end of the audience you can come up and meet him. So I got to do that just this past June, and that was incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, an absolute privilege.
What did you guys
We talk
about?
Yeah.
I mean, it must be. Yeah, when I've heard him speak English, it's very sort of jarring. I never thought that,
Jarring's the word.
even in my kid's lifetime, we would have an American
word.
pope.
It's so weird, right?
But
You're
it
just
is.
What?
It's like, and he's talking about, the Bears or
the idea that like he plays Wordle on the phone
Yeah.
with his brother just blows my mind. Yeah, so we've really gone through this huge shift, right? And so we're all still getting used to it.
Yeah.
So that's very true. So I mean, you're like, what am I going to say to him? But it definitely helped me relax that I knew I could just speak, in my madre lingua to him, and that he just felt to me just like speaking to any other bishop. And I work with a lot of bishops, so that was really nice.
Yes.
And so I was just able to walk up to him and say hello, and I promised my archbishop I would say some things because he got me in there, and so I greeted him on behalf of my archbishop, and he, Pope Leo, had actually done his clinical pastoral education here back in the 80s when he was in formation. So he did his hospital chaplaincy training in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
So I told him that we were delighted to learn that he had spent some time in our archdiocese, and then he smiled and said, yeah, that's right, I did. And then I just explained what I was doing in Rome, that I was attending this conference on safeguarding and the work that I do is for my archdiocese in this area of protecting vulnerable persons. And I'm a canon lawyer, and so is he. So we just talk, we have that in common. And then he just said, thank you for your work.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
That's so
Super
cool.
exciting.
Have you met any other popes?
I did get to meet Pope Francis too, actually. So during my time at Santa Croce, while I was doing my studies, I actually had the opportunity to do some work for the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, the office in the Holy See that handles cases of sexual abuse by clergy. And that's the area that I wrote my dissertation on. And so I was invited to join them and to do whatever work I could to help them move things along. And so that was an amazing experience that I had. And during the time I was there, the dicastery had their plenary meeting with the Holy Father. They do this every 2 years. And they present to the Holy Father a statistical report on their work. And then he gives comments back, and then everybody gets a chance to meet him. So I was able to meet Pope Francis. I was able to help prepare that report for Pope Francis, which, again, great privilege. And then I was able to meet him during that time. So, yeah,
That's
2 popes
so
now.
cool.
So I know, it's pretty exciting.
Not everyone knows sort of what the Chancellor of Canonical Affairs is,
Yeah,
or
right.
what responsibilities fall under your purview.
What's the job?
Can you tell us a little bit about
What's
it?
the job? What's the
day-to-day
Chancellor for Canonical Affairs job? So basically, I'm sort of like the general canonical counsel for this archdiocese organization and the archbishop. So just as he needs a civil lawyer to help him review all kinds of things, he also needs a canon lawyer. So I actually work very closely. We have a chancellor for civil affairs.
Okay.
And the two of us are kind of a unit in terms of that internal legal counsel.
Okay.
So I do go to lots of meetings, as you can imagine, just trying to solve problems or come up with a solution to whatever is the issue of the day. One of my main responsibilities is drawing up official documentation to make sure, so if Archbishop's going to make some sort of decision, it needs to conform to the requirements of the law. And so I do a lot of assignment letters and decrees and anything that needs to be documented. And in canon law, the chancellor's role, one of the main functions of the chancellor is to oversee the records and the official records of the diocese. So that is under my purview as well, making sure that we have our archive maintained properly in accordance with the law, that we're keeping the right records, they're preserved, and that the records we create are worthy of perpetual retention, things like that. So it's a lot of, that kind of paper pushing, and it's interesting that as we're trying to move into like digital preservation, for example, and things like that. So, and then just answering all the random canonical questions that come up in parish life, a lot of sacramental
Yes.
stuff
Yeah.
that that priests encounter. They I don't know how to handle this, and so I'm there as a resource.
Yeah.
To tell them what the law says.
I remember when I was working at the diocese in Maine, one of the parishes, there was a new parish secretary there, I think, and she was recording all of the, the baptisms.
Yes,
and
the sacramental registers.
It's like, do you know, can't we just use a regular pen?
Oh, right.
Can't we use regular paper?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so, but that's
so
kind of above my pay grade.
That's part of, we would do a lot of sacramental records, questions, and because that's a huge part of our patrimony as a church, and people have a right to have those records be accurate and preserved and accessible. And so we do a lot of work.
And then
in that
once
area.
you digitize them, is Apple going to be around in 1,000 years? I don't know.
Right.
Probably.
Right. And more importantly, the law of the church doesn't even foresee that at all. So we have to keep those physical books.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So many of us know that canon law exists. We're not necessarily well informed about its role within the church. Can you share just a little bit about how exactly it comes into play within the institution, or how it may affect our daily lives even without us recognizing it?
Sure. Yeah. So, the church is a society. Any society needs laws and order.
Yeah.
And so the church lives under the civil laws of the place that it exists in, but it also has its own comprehensive legal system. So canon law is not just like this little set of rules. It governs everything about how we work as an institutional church. So the fact that you can walk into any Catholic church in the world and go to a mass and essentially know what's going on, and it looks more or less the same, and the sacraments are celebrated in the same way and validly. That's all because of our structure and canon law and the mechanisms that we have to enforce that and make sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So that's like the main place people would encounter canon law in their daily lives. It governs our temporalities, our money and property. So what happens to that money when you put it in the collection plate? Canon law governs that. It governs everything having to do with like the lives of clergy, from admission to seminary to ordination to everything that happens during their service to the church to their death and funeral. So we spend a lot of time working on just clergy sort of management and making sure they have what they need. And then there's a whole judicial system. There's and where most people would encounter that would be in like the marriage tribunal.
Yep.
So if someone has the question, is my marriage valid or not? Am I bound to this? There's a judicial process that we can go through to find out facts and make a determination in accordance with the law of the church as to the status of that marriage. And then in that judicial system, there's also like a criminal justice system. There are certain actions in the church that are recognized as crimes in canon law. Things that the state wouldn't care about. The state wouldn't care about necessarily desecration of the Eucharist, but the church very much does. And that's a very serious crime, and there's a whole system for what to do if something like that would happen. Yeah. So that's kind of a snapshot of how canon law works.
Have there been any cases like that, like recent memory of, maybe like somebody being tried for desecration of the Eucharist, or
where we might, thankfully that particular one does not come up often. Or if we get a report or something like that, it's accidental, there's no bad intent there. But where we might see something come up in that area is more in the lines of like schism or, heresy. So someone might take someone who previously was a person representing the church, like a priest or something, might go seek ordination in a different area. So that's something that would prompt the archbishop, require him actually, and this is part of what I would help him with, to deal with that canonically. So that's sometimes that comes up.
No. Your line of work involves, obviously, as we're talking about, very challenging cases, couples getting divorced, seeking annulments, and even your dissertation. I think everybody in the church has been affected by, some sort of just the abuse, the scandal that's come out over the last you know, many years. I mean, you can
Right.
tell us sort of
Yeah.
how far back this goes
Oh,
to the
since
beginning.
the human person was created, yes.
Yes. So how do you sort of maintain your joy about you and sort of keep from being sort of consumed by that human weakness within the church that we all see?
Right. You know, I think anyone who does church work can say this. You know, sometimes the content can be challenging, but ultimately what we're talking about is the human person. What we have, you know, so a situation comes up, and yes, it involves these difficult facts and circumstances, but at the heart of it, you have people. You have people who are coming to the church seeking something as a result of this. They're looking for justice. They're looking for a solution. They're looking for support, pastoral care. They're looking to be heard, and they need something from the church, and that's what we are here to respond to. And so that's the business of the church. And so, you know, when you think about it like that, like this work is a ministry just as much as people working in the parish is a ministry. It's an encounter.
Yeah.
And so we're here to accompany people through that and give them what they're looking for to the extent we can. And so you just keep going back and thanking God for giving you what you need to be there with that person, because sometimes that's what you have to do. Is like, God, I have no idea what to say to this person or how to get through this meeting, and you just dwell on that grace.
Yeah.
And comes to you.
Yeah.
So
I remember sort of when I first started working for the church, I worked for the Archdiocese of New York, and when I was getting the job, my aunt said to me, you know, you better be careful. You know, a lot of people lose their faith working for the church.
I tell people that when they sign up to work. It's true. And so I talk to people about that, like, be prepared, because that's what this is. This is, you know, a ministry, and the human part of the church is what we are working on here. And just, you know, that you're part of the solution. But you are going to see humanity in all of its brokenness, but that's what the church exists to be present to. And we wouldn't be the church if we weren't working in that part of, you know, our lives.
The messiness of life.
Yes, that's why we're here.
Yeah. Awesome. What have you come to understand about the justice and mercy of God because of your ministry?
That's a nice, easy question. Justice and mercy of God. Here's what I'll say. About that. Let's talk about justice and mercy as we encounter it. First, let's talk about it as we encounter it in that work we do for the church. And when I think about the relationship between those two virtues, I love to draw upon our Archbishop, Bernard Hebda. Back in 2016, he gave the Red Mass homily for the Supreme Court justices.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and the homily is online.
Okay.
I'm grateful for that, because I've gone back and read it several times. And he talked about this to the justices, and he encouraged them, exhorted them to remember mercy in their application of justice. And the way he describes it was so concise and so beautiful. And I've just found it to be so helpful. And so what he told them is, you know, justice requires us always be faithful to the law. You don't like let up on the requirements of the law. You follow the law appropriately. You rigorously defend your clients, or you use with integrity. You apply the law in this messy situation. But what mercy requires us to do is always remember that these are not just words on a page, facts. This is people. This is people, and never lose sight of the people in the situation. And you have to, when you're interpreting the law and interpreting the facts, you have to do it through the lens of the human person and the human condition, and that's what mercy in the work of justice looks like. And you always are operating in that context. And he spoke about how the role of any jurist is to be a student of the human person, a lifelong student of the human person. And I think about that a lot. And that's the same, again, for anyone who's working in ministry in the church. You'd say any priest or religious.
Yeah.
That's what the church is. The church is our intellectual treasury is on the human person. You know, we're the expert on the human person. And so everything we do needs to be seen in that light. And so what we're here, you know, this case in front of us, a decision has to be made, but never separated from what is the people, what are the people right in front of us. And so when I think about that in our work, right, you always have to have that, every case is unique. You know, the set of facts in this situation that might look the same, but you have to do that extra work and look at the human factors that are involved in order to make a just decision. You have to be able to adjust yourself accordingly. And then when the case is done, you can close it, okay, and move on to the next one. But actually, mercy requires us to now look, okay, the decision's made. What more needs to be done to address the people around us? The person who has been harmed, the person who caused the harm, the community that's affected. What more work needs to be done to restore this situation, bring justice, repair that scandal that's occurred? So that's just us in our little world that we're operating in here. Now think about how much more greater that is in terms of God's relationship to us. So it's a
small glimpse into
just this microcosm.
It's unbelievable.
Right? Yeah. So that's a wonderful homily. I recommend anyone to read it. You can just Google Archbishop Hebda Red Mass Homily 2016, and it's available in a couple places.
We'll link it down in the description.
I read it all the time.
Okay.
I basically have it memorized.
That's so cool.
It's a great resource. Yeah, it's a great resource because it was like the first time that it really made a lot of sense to me. It was when I read that. So I was grateful.
That's great. You're the first layperson of the alumni community that we're interviewing.
Exciting.
And I just wanted to sort of get your take on what it was like being a layperson at the university, surrounded by priests, religious, seminarians.
Yeah. You know, first of all, the environment at Santa Croce is just wonderful. It's so energetic in a good way, you know, and positive and international. So that was wonderful to be just in this community of people in some ways where you feel like you have nothing in common, but you also have so much in common because you're both working on this in the same area for this common goal. But you know, they grew up in totally different circumstances and are going back to totally different circumstances, right? And you know, I had already been working as chancellor for several years before I went to do my doctorate, and so, you know, for me, being around tons of priests was very normal. So that was easy. So I think the most new thing was how international it was. And like I said, find common ground with people from totally different backgrounds. But we actually have this, you know, we have a shared faith and everything. So that was a really neat experience.
Did your family come with you?
They didn't come because, and I got to do like a shortened residency because of all the experience that I had. So I really only had to be away for like 4 months. And so I actually was working my job here. So because of the time difference, it was very convenient. So I was able to, you know, do school up until 4 o'clock in Rome, and then that's 9 a.m. in Minnesota. And then I logged in and I did my job from my desk in Rome. You know, from 4 p.m. Rome time until midnight, which was 5 o'clock Minnesota. Yeah, so I really did a grind there to
Yeah.
get it done, but that was what I needed to do to get it
Yeah.
accomplished.
As a father of 9, I've come to realize you need very little sleep
Oh.
to maintain yourself.
9 kids, that's amazing. Yeah. No, yeah. So it was, but it was a great opportunity, and I knew I could do it for this
incredible.
short sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great.
That was a lot.
What stuck out most to you about your fellow students and the professors? I mean, you talked a little bit about how, being international, but
Right.
how did they inspire you?
The faculty, the faculty is amazing. And that was the best because, I had already been practicing canon law for a while. And then walking around the halls are all these faculties with last names that I had read about in so many articles.
Wow.
And, it's like, that's the guy who wrote, I relied on his article for this paper, and he's the expert on this. And so that was really interesting. So yeah, the faculty for sure, and my director, Professor Davide Cito, and I was able to work with him, and that was a great privilege because, with what I was writing on the church's laws dealing with sexual abuse, and at the time, those laws, the current laws, were being actively revised for the first time in 40 years, 4 decades. And he was part of the working group that was revising those. And so I was able to learn from him and have him oversee my work and just get his feedback. And that was such a confidence boost, knowing that, okay, what I'm writing is not wrong. Because if anyone's going to know, he will know. And so he was able to affirm that, what you're saying is correct.
Yeah.
And he was able to, help me access some resources, and so that was incredible. That was incredible. So yeah, just being close to talking to, having, espresso with these giants in my little canon law world was a real treat.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What were sort of the big takeaways from your dissertation?
What were the big takeaways? My big question was, when you look at the laws that the church has on this topic, it never uses the word sexual abuse or sexual assault or sexual harassment or any of those things that we've become accustomed to reading about in our civil laws.
Yes.
And in my work as chancellor, I found it really difficult to apply the laws that we had, to understand what it even means, because it says an offense against the 6th commandment of the Decalogue.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean? And when we're working with, when we have our investigators or people who are reviewing these cases, and, we have the facts, what is this? What is this? We don't know if this is a crime or if it's just something odd. And then they ask me to explain what canon law says about it. And I say an offense against the 6th commandment of the Decalogue. And they
it's pretty
speak
broad.
English, And so coming out of that experience of trying to understand it better. So I just dove into that. Why do we use that language when we speak? But why don't we use some of the more precise civil law language? And so I just looked at the history of the church's laws on this. How have we talked about this from the earliest days? And that we had laws on it from the earliest days of the community, because they exist. This is just something that exists whenever there are human beings working together. And so I traced that, and I saw the evolution of the law, and I was able to put together as much as I can the reasoning behind it. And what was most exciting for me on a very nerdy level was, because I was in Rome, and again through the assistance of the faculty at the university, I was able to do research at the time they called it the secret archives of the Vatican. Now they call it the Apostolic Archives.
Okay.
And I was able to see original documents from the first time they wrote a code of canon law, which is a little more than 100 years ago.
Wow.
They had to take the church's legislation, put it into a code, and I was able to see the meeting minutes from the group who was working on the drafts. And I could see their lines and the questions, and I could see the feedback that and this is not published anywhere.
Yeah.
So I just had this, these old papers, and I could see the handwriting of Cardinal Pietro Gaspari, who put it together. it was amazing. But I was able to take my notes from that and publish that in my dissertation, and so it's a really helpful reference point.
Yeah.
And you're going to be sorry you asked me this because we talked about this.
No.
But I'll wrap it up. I'll wrap it up. But that was a really unique experience that I got to have, was those visits to the secret archives.
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm always sort of, the only thing that I can sort of compare that to is having read some of the writings of the signers of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah,
oh, well, this is what they were talking about, you know, and they're like writing these letters back and forth to each other.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
Trying to get in their heads, why did they include this law and not this law? Why did they use this language? What values were they trying to protect in those decisions? And then I was able to also look at what happened after that and subsequent revisions, all the way up to the revisions that just happened 3 years ago.
Wow.
So it was
very cool.
Yeah, I learned a lot, and like I said, I was able to put it together in English in an accessible format, so others can maybe get answers quicker than I could when I was trying to look at some of these questions.
So while you were in the secret archives, was Da Vinci's flying machine down there?
No, but there was a lot of kind of cranky Italian guys, you know, who were very strict on the rules. They were not messing around. Yeah,
I would imagine.
Okay, sorry. I won't sneeze. I won't sneeze.
Why did you choose Santa Croce, or was Archbishop Habuda, was he the...
No, he's very influential in it. I mean, so I knew I wanted to do my doctorate in canon law in Rome, and I did. I went to him, and he recommended Santa Croce. And I'm so glad he did. You know, it was definitely the right place for me. I loved it there, like especially the faculty and working with Professor Chito. And it was just a great experience.
That's awesome. What would you say to somebody who's supporting a student? I mean, you talk about the international, you know, students, and you know, we have just tons of students from Africa, India, the Philippines, South Central America, even Canada. We have guys from the U.S., students from the U.S. And, you know, I think that many of their bishops continually are in contact with the university, asking for guys to come and asking for, you know, people to come, women to come study communications or other things for their diocese, which are, you know, many of them are growing like wildfire.
Right.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who's thinking about supporting a student?
You know, I've always been very impressed with Santa Croce, and you can see them. They're not just like some declining institution. They're growing. Like I said, when you walk in there, there's energy, and you can see, and they're on top of what is happening in the church today. And so my education was very much focused on today and tomorrow in the church. You know, it wasn't just, you know, about preserving this old identity, but of course they're very faithful to the tradition, but they're very much in tune to preparing people for service for the church today. And you can tell that just by going on the website, you know, and how current all the resources are, and you can tell they take that very seriously. So highly recommend. It was a wonderful experience for me.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add for our viewers?
Thank you for listening, especially about all this canon law talk. Really appreciate that.
I think people are more and more interested in this kind of thing, you know, as you grow closer to the Lord, you want to find out more about his
how
church
it works,
and how
right?
things work.
Look under the hood and see all of that. Yeah. So I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Mulheron. Appreciate your time, and it was a real blessing to speak with you.
Thank you, David.